Hi and welcome to the Art of Tarot. My name is Stephanie and this is a reading for Aquarius, Sun, Moon, Rising, Venus and Mars, but especially for Sun, since this is a birth reading, a birthday reading, and in a more broader sense, a birth year reading. So this is a deeper reading that is valid for the birth year of Aquarius. So now we just are about to enter Pisces, so it's the end of Aquarius birthday season. A happy birthday to all Aquariuses out there. This is going to be a reading that goes into a little bit of deeper topics. We look at the karmic situation you're at. We look at the situations where you feel like you want to develop yourself, where you want to work on yourself, how you can work on yourself. In the second part of the reading, I will go into a love situation. I will pull cards from another deck for a love situation, you and the other person, or the energies that you're drawing into. The cards are already out because I did this reading in German, and I also have a German speaking channel, so if you want to follow that, then you find the link in the description box below. Okay, Aquarius, so we know that there is an immense amount of activity going on in your sign and has been. Now planets are slowly moving out of your sign, the fast ones for that matter, but you have, of course, Saturn in your sign, you have Jupiter in your sign, which is a pretty good thing. Jupiter is really about expansion, it's about growth, it's about luck, also it's a lucky planet. And with the combination with Saturn here, I think will give you really long-lasting results when you want to build on your foundation, especially when you're and on your personality, especially when you are Ascendant, Aquarius Ascendant. And then Pluto at some point will join the gang and they will really together root out everything that is not helpful for you when it comes to your foundation, when it comes to doing things the right way, because Saturn really does test the deep. So Saturn really roots and weeds out all the stuff that is not working for you to the roots. So this can be a challenging time, definitely, with Saturn, and Saturn is a slow planet, so Saturn is hanging out for a couple of years in your sign, but in the combination with Jupiter you really get results that bring you prosperity, that bring you luck, that bring you growth. And with Pluto, it really gives you the chance for deep transformational processes that can help you grow as well. So we also had in February, we have Venus in your sign, which can bring you more understanding of love, sensuality, peace. What does that mean to you? How do you want to live that? And with the Mercury in retrograde that we also had in your sign, you might have gone back into old cycles, revisit old cycles, also maybe in communication. Maybe you felt like things are not moving forward so much. You kind of have to work internally and figure out some things, especially when it comes to your mind. And now on the 20th, Mercury is moving direct again, and then also out of your sign soonish. In March, and Venus is moving out of your sign. So there might have been a lot of reminiscing, thinking, conceptualizing when it comes to love and peace and harmony, how you want to create that in your life with a partner or without. Venus doesn't necessarily mean partnership. It's just it's more about sensuality, love, the beautiful things that you want to bring into your life. But of course it is the ruler of Libra, who is the sign of partnerships and relationships. So then of course the Sun was in your sign, and all that combination, I mean, there was just a huge emphasis on you in general. So now let's look at the cards. how you can really start this new year with this information, because I think there was a lot of information that came to you, and especially on an emotional level, since there was a new moon in your sign as well, which is kind of a clean slate emotionally, where we can start inviting new things, and that new moon was happening on the 11th, on February 11th. So yeah, your cards really suggest strongly that there is a strong look to what structure for you means. What does structure mean? What does a system mean here with the Emperor? And how do you want to live that? What does authority even mean? Maybe you're questioning authority. I mean, we're doing that collectively. All that Aquarius action, of course, is intensifying the whole discourse of positions in power, and how we accept that, and how we don't, and how we question positions in power, because the Emperor is very much government as well. So Emperor in reverse, it's also the government within yourself. You know, how do you govern your own life? How do you create a system for yourself that works? How do you set a system, order in a way that you also live out, that helps you live out? How do you set boundaries? How do you set borders? It's just another dimension, you know, boundaries is another dimension of borders. What are your personal borders? How do you set them? I think this is a really, really huge theme, because we also have the Seven of Wands in reverse here. And that is an interesting card when it comes to borders and boundaries, because it is really a card where you want to fight for setting of new boundaries, or setting a new state of boundaries. It's not so much that you haven't in the past. I feel like there is a strong indication with the Seven of Wands in reverse. What came through for me was, it's not that you have to completely reinvent the wheel or the system. It's more like an adjustment. And it's not that what you did in the past was wrong. It just now, for this situation, it doesn't work anymore, and you have to revisit. And revisiting is a strong, or you had to revisit. Revisiting is a strong word here as well, with the Seven of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles is really about looking at results. For me, it's very much about taking a step back, looking at what you've built so far, looking at what works and what doesn't. It's often a card that is brought in context with a waiting period or blocking period. For me, it's more like, well, you are assessing a situation and you're doing some sort of healthy criticism towards yourself. So you're really looking at all the things here that you've built, that you, maybe the different seeds you planted, that you've nurtured, and how much they've grown, and what needs more nurturing. What you can see here, when he bends down to this rose, that might need a little more nurturing, but it's coming off out of the ground. And this is a huge theme. Intuitively, I saw strongly for you, there is a big theme of nurturing the heart for you in general, but we'll come to that. So this is your higher consciousness knowing, okay, I need to take a step back, I need to pause. It's not even take a step back, it's pause a little, look at all the things that I've built so far, look at what works and what doesn't, assessing where you subconsciously, maybe it might be hard to find that, I want to say, backbone in you to set the new boundaries straight. And there might always be this difficulty of, but maybe I don't want to be too rigid or too extreme or too strict or too straight in my boundaries. Or there might even be the complete opposite, where you're like, well, boundaries don't make any sense. And that would be a very Aquarius thing to think, because you're like also on a idealistic level, when it comes to society, a lot of Aquariuses are just like very forward thinking, and the more forward we think these days, of course, borders and boundaries don't make so much sense anymore, or they're highly questioned in that regard. But still, how do you find a base, a system to rule your own sort of kingdom? And how do you set those boundaries for yourself, those borders for yourself, where you cannot step over, and how you want to define them, how strict you want to define them? And there is some sort of one extreme or another. I feel like you're here very much in one extreme right now, and there is an indication that you want to tip a little bit to the other extreme to balance it out in a way. This whole process is really there to get you closer to your physical lived abundance here in this worldly realm. We have the Nine of Pentacles here that was crossing this Emperor card, and the Nine of Pentacles really speaks about materializing all that you imagine you can be. It really is living your best version out in this very physical earthly realm, and really manifesting it and bringing it into reality of things. It's not just a concept anymore. It's you're living it. You're living your best life, basically. And she is here portrayed as a very independent person, in this case woman, but of course it doesn't matter. Independent person, abundant, financially abundant. She has this higher knowledge. She has a very clear insight. She has this hawk here sitting on her shoulder. And interestingly enough, in this deck here is a bat in this deck. It's a very interesting deck. This is the Starman Tarot, the David Bowie deck that is out there, and I thought for Aquarius that's just perfect because it's so higher consciousness driven. There's so many, it's not, I wouldn't even call it psychedelic, even though it has some psychedelic surrealism to it, but there is just this cosmic element in this deck that is really, really inspiring. So she is also looking to this bat, and of course now the connotation of a bat in these times is of course a connection to the coronavirus, but all in all this really talks about the deeper senses, also mastering all the senses of the worldly realm. So the hawk is kind of like an analogy for the higher thinking, for the seeing clear, having a very radar vision kind of thing. And when we are talking about radar vision and radar hearing, then there is also the bat. So she knows how to use and control also these higher senses. It's a lot about being able to tune into these higher senses, and that's, I mean, bats do have basically they see higher frequencies and hear higher frequencies, and they can orient themselves with what is similar to radar vision. So yes, you have a lot of insight here, at the same time a lot of I want to say fertile ground to create. You're still very connected to all the mysteries of nature, also spirits of nature, because the earth element and therefore the coin element also is very connected to nature as well. So yes, this is a card where you're really working towards, and I think because it's crossing the whole situation here, this is where you're working towards. You really want to arrive at the point, as we all do, where you can really live your best life, feel your best self, live out your best self, be also, this is the result of being very disciplined with yourself. This is the result of really understanding how you can create your own well-being, and also practicing it. Not only understanding, but also practicing it. And that is often, of course, an air sign thing. Air signs very much understand how things would work in theory, but sometimes the execution of a thing might be a little difficult, because they are in their head very fast, and it's some other point already, although the earthly realm doesn't move that fast. And Saturn will teach you a lesson or two about that in the next couple of years. I'm sorry to inform you, Aquarius, I'm not wanna, give you a bad feeling about it, but just invite it as something that can be very beneficial for you. So what you're moving out of, there is definitely this element. We have this Three of Swords, and you're moving out of it. So Three of Swords also came out not upright and not in reverse. It just came out like this. So I think it's a lot about also figuring out boundaries when it comes to the matters of the heart versus the matters of the mind. How do you move forward with enough protection so that you are not too vulnerable? And how do you also move forward logically? I think there is some sort of big question mark, and it even comes up in this card here, the question mark, when it comes to figuring out what's the right balance here. When do I go forward with a mind decision, mind over heart, mind over matter? When do I let my heart come in and decide and bring myself forward? We have a Tin Man here, and the Tin Man has the biggest heart in reality, although he's made of tin and of all this metal. So Aquariuses are just really good at rationalizing people, feelings, their own emotions, and also I think it's a protection mechanism, very much so, but at the same time it's also just in their nature, so how can you really bring together? There's a lot of messages in these cards. These cards are very non-traditional, obviously. So how can you also put on a mask and put off a mask? And maybe put off a mask of cynicism, I see here, of humor gone wrong or rotten. And how, what is behind that? What is behind that mask when you go forward and make decisions that are maybe in reality very uncomfortable and very hurtful, but you're not showing much of how hurtful it is. How much do you want to show? How much do you want to show? Maybe there is a moment where you want to show a little more. Maybe you come into a position of letting guard down a little bit. Also with the Emperor in reverse, that could be very well the case, and with the Seven of Wands in reverse, that could also very well be the case. So yes, there is a lot of questions about how much your guard is up, I think, and how much you don't want it to be up. So I think there is a very conscious realization of that there is a need for breaking open. Things need to break open here with the Tower card, and I think that already happened in the past. There was maybe an inner breakthrough where you felt like, okay, things just need to get out. There is Often with the Tower card in reverse, I read it as that something is breaking out from within you, not so much with outer influences. That because with the Tower card, often something happens and then we're forced to break free or to change or to radically change. When it comes up in reverse, for me, it's often an indication that there's an inner feeling of things are so uncomfortable that there is this need really to break down walls, inner walls. And it could have, I mean, it's often something that happens, but maybe it was not like this tragic shock, you know. So energy breaking free, yes, energy breaking free, and therefore now putting you in a new position where you really have to look at the situation and be like, oh well, this is what worked and this is what didn't work so far, so let's see how we can get to a new point of view. And what I see where you're working yourself into or where you're moving into is the High Priestess. And I love this because the High Priestess, first of all, it talks about Virgo. So there's a full moon in Virgo on the 27th of February that could bring something up for you. Also check out in which house that is happening for you. So maybe that is a specific house that has some particular meaning for you. The High Priestess is about, again, connection to the very earthly clues that give us knowledge of the universe. So the High Priestess is an earthy card. The Virgo, I read it as Virgo. It can also be Pisces, which is also a very, very connected card on a more emotional level. But the High Priestess is also a healer type figure. She is also the Virgin, you know, so she is the person who has the higher knowledge without having the actual experience. She taps into the higher knowledge that is within her, that is not yet corrupted by her experience on this planet. She is able to, she is moving forward with this truth behind her. This is like an internal truth sort kind of situation that is happening behind her. So she has the insight, she has the intuition, and of course she stands for intuition in general. So it's very much about intuition and about having a sixth sense in a way, but being able to read into that in a very still grounded, earthy manner. And she is the counterpart in a way to the magician. She realizes herself as physical being that has a purpose and a will forward. She just is more receptive of information than she is actively putting out energy. So she works with the energy more that comes towards her, and she's very good at reading this energy. So very powerful, obviously. I love this card. So what that tells me is that in the next year, it will be a very important thing to look at you, or it can be a very interesting thing to look at you, to really train your intuition. Tap into those moments where you feel like, I can't really describe why this feels right, but I know it feels right on a deeper level. I can't rationalize why this feels like the right thing to do or the right thing not to do, but I can totally get confirmation on a deeper level. And there is a certainty. There is not well, maybe there is a certainty. And that certainty is often felt in the very first moment of things. It's not the kind of feeling that you have when you're already in a situation for like a couple of weeks and it's a constant emotional, confusional state, and then you're like, but my emotions say this. At that point, you don't know what your emotions say anymore. And it's not about your emotions, it's much deeper than that. It's not about a reactive emotion, it's much deeper than that. That feeling is definitely a reactive emotion, but not a superficial one. It's just it goes very deep down. So allow yourself to recognize that and give it relevance and not dismiss it as something that you can't explain and therefore it's not real. The word is not the thing, the word is just a description, and for some things we don't have a description just yet. So what our mind does is basically working with a lot of words that we've ingrained into our mind. When we get rid of all that chatter, then we feel on a deeper level the truth in the moment, and it doesn't matter if you can't describe the truth yet in your monkey brain, It doesn't matter if your mind doesn't know how to describe it. It's fine. You don't need to describe it, and especially not to yourself. There's not words for everything just yet, and not descriptions for everything just yet. Words are very creative, and language is a creative form of expression that we as human race really learned how to master, and therefore there are so many languages because it's very creative, but that's why there is not just one. And so that was important for some reason to mention. So what is happening for you also here is figuring out the understanding how to focus, because you might say right now, like, yeah, well, I get all that and that's all okay, I need to figure out more how my intuition works, but it seems like I can't focus, I can't put the work into this, I don't know how to focus on the things that I figured out are not working. There is some sort of resistance within me right now that I really put the work into those areas of my life. This is the Eight of Pentacles in reverse. Also maybe a resistance to master something, or just a difficulty to find the focus, I think, or an unwillingness to doing the hard work. That could also be that you're just in a place where you're like, I'm exhausted, I don't want to do the work today. If you know that video, I just don't want to do the work today. So that's the feeling that comes through. It is part of the transformation. You need to know that this is part of the transformational process of arranging your boundaries and figuring out, what do I want to fight for, what do I want to really go for, where do I want to put my full passion in, and where do I want to fight for my standpoint. This is a part of the process. Getting to the focus is a part of the process of the transformation. Learning how to refocus again, relearning. It's not, we have all that knowledge within us. When we learn, we relearn. And this card is very much about discipline too. And what discipline is really about, it's so interesting, because I just recently watched this video of Krishna Murti, if you know him, and he was talking about discipline and how also mastering the thought process is it's just a very, and he's a philosopher basically, so not basically, he is, or he was, and mastering the thought process is just a very disciplined practice. It's so much about discipline, and it's not so much about what you bring out into the world right now. It's maybe more about how do I master and focus on this thought process. And discipline comes, and that's what I thought really important and interesting to note. Discipline, the word comes from the origin, I think Latin or Greek, it must be one of those two. It comes from the word origin that means to constantly learn. So it comes from learning actually, and it means constantly, like learn all the time. That's discipline. And so it is not, learning is supposed to be fun. We forget that learning is supposed to be fun and give us a good feeling. When we solve a problem, we have a good feeling. We have a dopamine induced situation. When we are in a creative flow, which also means we're going state by state, kind of solving self-created problems maybe. I mean, that's a different thing, but yes, we're in a flow state. We're just in the right amount of putting the work in, not making it too hard and not making it too little hard, but still there's always a challenge in there and always learning in there. So that's the flow state of mind. And this is just, I think, with the rearranging of your boundaries and of your setting and of your system, there comes a resistance to the focus, and it's part of a transformation to relearn the focus, because this mastery here in this card, I love this card. It looks very much like magic to me. It looks like a magical process, and it also suggests that you can do it. You have that magic within you to really create and be in that flow state. It looks very much like a flow state. To be really focused and really concentrated on a thing is such a relieving and freeing situation, don't you think? I think it's just a very giving situation once you're in that. It just gives you a lot of power and magical power in a way to understand more and more how much you're capable of. And this is linked to your intuition, also to intuitively go into the places where you feel like you can find that. But yes, there will be resistance, or there can be resistance, and there will be maybe difficulty tapping into that over and over again, but your intuition will guide you. You don't have to analyze every step on the way. You're assessing right now. You don't have to analyze. You know, after within the upcoming months, you will know what you want to better in your situation and where you want to put more focus in. Now it's about that transformation, how to put the focus in constantly. And as long as it's effort, that's not a bad thing, but how can it be just the right amount of effort so it still feels right? The Death card is indication that this is a deep transformation, long-lasting information that really builds a fertile ground, a new basis for growth, for personal growth as well. And as the key card here, which I think is very interesting, oh no, that's the Fear card. The key card is the Justice card in reverse, and the Fear card, I'm sorry, fears and hopes, which is often the same thing. We forget. And fear of, in these readings, of course, we talk about fear as a very abstract thing, because in most cases the fears are very abstract, that we create for ourselves. I'm not saying that fear in itself is not real. Obviously there is dangers out there. Obviously we live in a society where And we do live in that society. We cannot just change it from one day to the other, but we can try to make changes within ourselves, right? So this fear, it's very interesting because your fear is very made up to the point where you're afraid of your own power. Does that make sense? The star card is the card of Aquarius. So this is your card. This is a symbol for really the endless possibilities also of the universe. This is hope. This is also a card where you are able to show yourself fully, to go fully into your power, to tap fully into your higher consciousness, really. And as I say that, I look out the window and there is a butterfly flying by, which is very interesting. And the butterfly is, of course, a symbol of transformation, and also it is a connection to the deathly realm. And it's also for me, it's a symbol also of having to let go of some old image to step into the new image. You know, that's the whole butterfly kind of story. And with the caterpillar and the butterfly, and it's connected. It's connected. The one needs the other, you know. So I feel like stepping into into this image of your full power, and be careful with image, of course, because we create this self-image for ourselves and we cling on to it, and then, but that's the point right now, to let go of some old self-image. It is very much a Saturn thing. Saturn is coming in and being like, I'm sorry, dude, but that's a nice image you've created, but it just hurts yourself a little too much. So let's, you know, get rid of all the stuff that is too hurtful to carry on. And I think there is a fear of that, a fear of really going into that strength and into that power and into that endless possibilities of the self that you very well know exists on a very intellectualized level. You understand that better than anybody else because that's your card. You know how much power the mind and consciousness has collectively, because Aquarius also rules society, innovation, all those things. So, key card, Justice card. Justice card in reverse. In this case, a very interesting image. She's balancing out her heart and her brain. I mean, it cannot be much more clear than that. So it's in reverse. I think for Aquarius, I mean, I don't know how much there is just not much speculation about that when you're an air sign, you know. I feel like your heart needs to come forward a little bit more, and by a little bit more I mean much more, Aquarius, much more, because there is, with the Justice card in reverse, a high imbalance. It's not very balanced, so you need to tip on the other side, you know. There is a need to regulate a little more extremely, so because it was one extreme was held up for so long, now there needs to be the other extreme needs to be up to regain balance at some point. So bring your heart forward, really. I know it's such an easy thing to say, but I gave you a lot of information here from the cards that can help you go there. And it is, again, also even if you feel like this is not what you want to do, or how you want to see it, or how you can do it, and there is a resistance to it, but it is practice. It is a practice. Eight of Pentacles for me is also always a practice card. So you do something over and over and over again until you get really good at it. So that's just what it is, you know. And all the talent that you're realizing is scary, I think. I feel like the Star card is also a talent card for me, because it's realizing your own talent, seeing your own talent, and realizing your own godly power. And people are afraid, of course, in general, to tap into that, or to even see that as a possibility, that they have godly powers within them. So Aquarius, okay, this is your reading for the general part, and now we're going into a love situation. So this is for people mostly who have one person in mind, or who are still thinking about an old cycle with a person, but it can be, of course, also for people who are in a more stable relationship, or for people who are single. It can be, and it is probably a situation where you are in conflict with a part within yourself, which basically is just the reflection on the outside, is just a relationship, you know, so it's all the same. If there is a conflict or a situation or a discussion or a fragmented reality within yourself that reflects either in the outside, in a relationship with a person, or is just a situation in the relationship with you. The Tower coming out again on the Tower. So there has been some breaking free, some breaking open. The first intuitive message is there has been a subconscious realization of breaking open some walls that show you, or I think you've let go of some sort of strong criticism and pointing out too many things within yourself. There has been some pain involved with that, definitely. I think there is an indication of starting to judge things a little different, starting to judge people and things and energies different than you did. And it was a necessity, because it was just too hurtful to stay at that place, to be so judgy. I'm gonna say it as it is. I'm sorry. Aquarius, you guys can be super judgmental people. And I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. I'm just saying you see things in a very advanced way. So when things are just not that advanced as you understand them in your realm, that is brilliant. Then it can be very intense, but you set yourself up for failure, you know. It's just, which is not a bad thing, because failure we need to learn. So I'm not saying failure is a bad thing. We have a situation, okay, there is some sort of not communication maybe from the other person. Other person is maybe not communicating the truth. Either maybe there's communication but not of the truth, Ace of Swords in reverse, but it can be very well no communication, especially from the other person. when you're single, it is maybe you are not seeing the full truth. There's a part of you that doesn't want to look at the truth yet, just yet, or not even want to, just it's not, the information is not there yet. The Empress in reverse and the Eight of Swords in reverse. Well, okay. On one hand, you're moving out of restricting thoughts. Maybe restricting thoughts when it comes to how you view femininity as a whole, how you view yourself, if you're a female person or female identifying, how you view your strength in femininity. Maybe there is a breaking free also that of the belief that femininity equals weakness. There's something about that here. Even if you're male identifying, maybe that's something you're breaking free from as well. Also, maybe there is an understanding that that femininity doesn't equal having to be a mother or to give birth to life, to human life. Love it. Okay, that's a good thing. Other person. This is the Nine of Pentacles. They have been in the Nine of Pentacles moment, or they were in a Nine of Pentacles moment here, or working on that, what you're working on right now. And maybe that Tower realization subconsciously made you, seeing them working on that, made you realize that this is what you need to do as well. Because that just looked good. Yes, that's it. That's a confirmation. The swords are always a confirmation. So there was a really big understanding, and you took from subconsciously, intuitively, without being able to notice it, or to put it into words, you noticed it intuitively, that there is something you can learn, and that you're judging a situation right as well. Two of Cups in reverse. I'm gonna lay out the cards here. Okay, Wheel of Fortune, the Star. Interesting. German reading had those two cards out as well. What is that? Uncomfortable. Seven of Swords in reverse. Huh. That's weird. I think they are not lying to themselves over there. They have a Three of Swords. Wow, okay. But they are not ready to tell you the truth though, just yet. Whatever that is. Okay, with the Son of Swords, you don't want to, it seems like you don't want to hear it either. You don't even want to learn. Emperor, I like it. Okay. Yeah, it seems like there is a situation where there needs to be, an energy needs to be cut out. Five of Swords is here subconsciously, and both sides know that. Two of Cups in reverse. You feel a strong soul connection, but in a way, you know, it's not on the same level. You're not on the same level with this person in one way or another, you know, it doesn't matter. There's an imbalance of, you know, when Two of Cups are in reverse, then there is a strong soul connection, and I think it's a very karmic one, because we have the Star and the Wheel of Fortune here, and the Wheel of Fortune does suggest karmic. So a person who needs to come in that teaches you a lesson and you teach them a lesson. That's what you take from the situation, and it's a strong lesson. I think it has a lot to do with your power when it comes to your own femininity. It doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. What I mean with femininity is soft strength that is able to let things come towards them and meet them with nurturing and with compassion, but find the strength and the stability within them without losing their boundaries, being compassionate without losing your boundaries. That's the Empress. It's a fine line, and it's like, you know, it's not easy to be in that constantly, but if you're in that, then you're very creative, because then things really grow in you, and that's the whole point of the Empress here. So with an Eight of Swords, I mean, you moved as soon as this person is going through some sort of healing within themselves and showing you that they are at the same time not able to step it up and take responsibility for the situation or work together. You are moving out and realizing something. I think this was maybe a very sudden moment here. And you're moving into the Emperor state that is past energy. So you moved into the Emperor state, and you kind of took the wheel, took the wand, and took control of the situation, which I don't think you controlled the situation, but you took on a very, this is how we're going to do it sort of approach. So it seems like this other person or this other energy was not willing to work with that, and therefore you came from this very strong masculine place. I mean, the Emperor is the counterpart of the Empress. You come into this feminine place that is now insecure. So that kind of got you off that it kind of took you off balance. And the Son of Swords in reverse is now like a reaction, I think, to that, and is saying, no, I don't want to, okay, now it's war. But like with this vicious sword energy in reverse, it's just not a great, you know, it's trying to trick the person into thinking things and mental manipulation kind of sort of thing. This other person is in a Fool situation here. They're really trying to figure out how they can bring in a new start for themselves. And I very much feel like they're kind of turned away from the situation. He looks at the Five of Pentacles here in reverse. Looks at, no, I don't want, and you both know, no, I don't want to feel left out. You're kind of both in that situation. I don't want to feel left out. Well, this person is not really communicating their hurt. They are honest to themselves about it, but they're not communicating it. They have the truth in their hand, and therefore this is all just like an insecure mess. And you don't really, it seems like it's just not, it's meant to be that it's not meant to be. I know it's a very, but that's the Wheel of Fortune, you know. It's meant to be that it's not meant to be. They have, I think, the communication, the truth they have in their hand right now. There is really an indication that they are afraid that you can't handle the truth right now. Honesty, or you're with that Empress in reverse sense, they can sense some instability or insecurity. Because look at that. I mean, I think that's very interesting. Here the hand, the Seven of Swords really speaks about being deceptive, not being very honest with yourself, with ourselves in general. And then it's in reverse, so now there is the truth, you know, he has the truth in his hand, but this hand here with the Ace of Swords is holding this new truth, and it's not bringing it forward though, even though it wants to. You can already kind of see that. It's like this weird stagnating thing that just results in both sides realizing that there's a sense that you don't take it personally so much. It seems like you would take it a little bit more personally than this other person, honestly, which is not a bad thing, you know. It's just what it is. I'm not judging, it's just what it is. Both of you have a very strong stand mentally on this still, and there is definitely some subconscious, really brutal conflict going on when it comes to that. So I think both of you are just letting the brain control everything basically here. There's no cups cards, and the cups that we have here is like a sense of, an intuitive sense from your side of, this is not my equal one way or another, you know. So yes, and it's not. It doesn't seem like very balanced, equal energies here to me. So that is what I have for you. That is what I have for the love situation. What can you do? Let me pull a advice card. Seven of Cups. Well, well, well. I think what you can do is realize that you have so many other options, that now it's a good moment to invite other options in, and to not let this fantasy control you, you know, because there is also this fantasizing moment, of course, with the Seven of Cups. But in this particular case, it really says, when I ask for an advice, see all the other options. Just go emotionally into places where, like, oh, this is somebody I kind of have a crush on, you know. It's, let that happen. Let your crush go elsewhere. Because this is not, you know, just let your imagination run wild with other people, I would say. So Aquarius, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for subscribing, liking, commenting if you enjoy those videos, and I hope you have a great birthday and a great birth year, so you can watch this video all through the year. And if you need more information, you find it in the description box below. So thanks for being here, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.